Hello, everybody. I am calling this March 25th, 2024 regular meeting of the Mancos RE-6 School Board to order. The time is 6:03 p.m. Are you sitting in for Heather?
Yeah.
Chrissy, will you please roll call?
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Here.
Tim Hunter.
Present.
Craig Benally.
Here.
Victor Figueroa.
Here.
Rachel McWhorter.
Here. Will everybody join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you guys for watching. If you are online, there's and all of you for being here. So meeting of the Board of Education and Public, not rather than a meeting with the public. During the meeting, there are times for public participation. We have none this evening. When you are called for comments, well, I don't need to say that. It doesn't matter. All right, I think we're ready to get rolling. Let me pull up. Sorry, I'm a little unprepared with my agenda here. In the right place. Okay. All right.
I move we approve the agenda.
I'll second. Chrissy, call the question, please.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Tim Hunter.
Aye.
Craig Benally.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Rachel McWhorter.
Aye. Perfect. All righty, that passes 5-0. All right, let's do no public participation as mentioned. DAC is not here.
We need approval of minutes. I move that
Oh,
we
I'm sorry.
approve the minutes of February 26th.
Second.
I moved right over that. Chrissy, call the question.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Tim Hunter.
Aye.
Craig Benally.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Rachel McWhorter.
Motion passes 5-0. DAC, are you going to stand in for that, or should we just wait?
I'll have a report. I'll
Okay.
have them generate a report.
I know
and
they
share it.
planned on being here
Yeah.
and someone got ill. I think someone's not feeling well, so. All right, we're gonna go right into board reports then. So, Victor, for both LRC and the CASB report, if you can combine and report back.
Okay, so I'll start off with CASB. I don't know if all of you received, but the CASB has a new format when they come to visit in the region, and that's called CASB Boardmanship Academy. They haven't said a lot of details, but what they have said is that the staff and regional colleagues will engage in governance matters, best practices, peer-to-peer networking, and more. And so they're supposed to give us more information about what that's supposed to look like, but those are the key elements of what they call CASB Boardmanship Academy is gonna be. They do have a date for us,
Mhm.
September 28th. They plan to be in Durango for this event, so if you can put that on your calendars, it would be nice to just see what the Boardmanship Academy looks like and what kind of information and feedback we can give them.
Is that like that's a Saturday.
Say again, it
It's a
is a
Saturday.
Saturday, it's 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m.
Wow. Okay. It is a good opportunity to be able to see other board members in and around the surrounding areas, not just Montezuma County.
Right, it's a great networking opportunity.
Perfect.
Okay, then I just want to hit some highlights of the CASB Winter Legislation Conference that I went to. First, I wanted to tell you that for our region, we have, I don't know, Todd, is it 7 or 6 districts that represent our region?
Yeah, about 7 or 8. And
Yeah.
I think they consider us like region 12.
Yeah, so there were 4 of our region members at this conference, which
Wow.
was nice. So Durango was there, Bayfield was there, Ignacio, and Mancos. So it was nice because we all had the opportunity to really talk about some different things we're doing in our district as it relates to, legislation and legislative platforms. The first, it was basically a day and a half conference. And the morning we went to the Capitol And we got to really see legislation and process, the whole discussion, the whole debate, the presentation, and all our legislators battling out their different agendas. So it was nice to really see that process firsthand, and I encourage you guys, if you're ever out there and you want to go see it, Matt Cook, will help you get in there and even meet your representatives if you want to, but he'll help you get in there and get situated. So if you're ever interested, or if we're ever interested in going up there as a group, that's another opportunity for us to see our legislators in action. I will tell you that I did meet, and our region met with both our representatives. We met with Representative Barbara McLaughlin and Senator Cleve Simpson, and I gave them again our spiel of our legislative platform and why we wrote those up as they are. And then everybody else kind of gave their information, and then we just had a good discussion with them. So it was nice to see both of them again, and they heard from us for the second time this year, which I think is always a good thing. Some of the things that we learned was legislative platforms. And what I learned from going to those classes was that there's different forms of legislative platforms. There are forms of legislative platforms, like an Adam 12, that are very detailed. They have the mission of the district. They have the makeup of students. The ethnicity groups. They have a variety of things in their legislative platform, and then they have the goals that are affecting them right now. And then there's legislative platforms that are as simple as just having the goals. So there's various ways. I did gather all that information, and I thought if we have time this summer when we do our retreat, it might be a good opportunity to think about what's our platform moving forward for next year, and what do we want to include when we create that platform. Do we want to include how many kids we have? Do we want to include the ethnicity? Do we want to include different things that the district represents? I'll have some examples of that, so we don't have to, but it's something that we could do.
Can I ask a quick question on
Sure.
that? In regard to how you're representing the platform along with stats, like the diversity stats.
Yeah.
Are there other districts, or would it be a conversation also to be able to represent in any way some of those rural stats here, whether that be in town, out of town, right, income levels, things like that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, those are all things but I would say that those are things that are good things to include, to just give everybody that looks at it more of an idea of what our community is and what it represents. We also had an update from the national level around CASB's housing update, and these are four federal legislations that I've already sent to Todd and Tim, because I know you guys are looking at housing in our area. There's Family Stability and Opportunity Voucher Act, Affordability and Fairness for Mountain Community Act, Save Affordable Housing Act, and Forest Service Flexibility Housing Partnerships. I can't tell you because they're complicated. And, when it comes from the federal government, you gotta water that stuff down. By the time it gets here, we're not sure what that looks like. But I hope that maybe one of those could possibly help us and shore us up a little bit more as we look at housing for our staff in the future. I do have the the housing presentation if anybody wants that.
I would love to see.
Overall, this was a great conference. I probably will go again next year because there's just a lot of good information that is going through this conference that I really felt like, yeah, that was a great update. Again, I haven't been, in all honesty, I haven't been disappointed with CASB's conferences. I think they're very, very helpful. Okay, so LRC update. I always have fun with this because it's so complicated and there's so many bills, so I have to figure out which ones I'm gonna talk about. Chrissy, I'm looking at you because there are some things that are happening with the School Finance Act. I'm not gonna talk a lot of detail about that. I'm gonna leave that up to Chrissy. But I will tell you that the School Finance Act is complete and it's in the long bill. And with that is this thing that we've been following, the BSF, the buy down stabilization factor. And so our legislators have come through. Now we still have to get it totally approved. The long bill is the bill that involves everything that the state is paying. And so that hasn't been finalized yet, but it's just been introduced. And our School Finance Act is in that. And just so you know, our School Finance Act is $9.7 billion in total this year. So stay tuned as they proceed forward with the long bill. It could be done by Friday. It could be done sometime next week as far as final approval. But do know that what happens now with the long bill is they're gonna then say, here's the amount of money that the state has. Here's the amount of money that the bill says that all the legislators want. And they're gonna have to start making it and balancing, just like we balance our checkbook. Well, they're gonna have to balance the budget. So they do not expect the BSF to be eliminated. They do expect that to be in there and to stay. That's not gonna be one of those, they say, oh, we can't afford that this year.
Yeah, because I was told with the literature that, you know, the state, to balance their budget, they're gonna have to slash $150 million to $300 million out of their budget. And a lot of times that means we get hit, you know, the School Finance Act does.
Yeah.
So who knows? I mean, like you said, it's in the House this week and it goes to the Senate next week. And we'll just have to see how it plays out, but who
Yeah.
knows? I think
You know, and talking with them, they say the BSF is staying. That's not gonna be cut. That everybody's committed to that. That's the conversations I've heard.
Yep, that's what I've been hoping, and we got some numbers today from the state, and it shows that they're buying it completely down,
Yeah,
but who knows?
who knows?
So much can change in the next 2 months.
I was on a conference, Zoom conference this afternoon or this morning, and I learned something I didn't know. So we had the CD role designation, and they have like small districts and large districts and how much money they're gonna give them above and beyond what the School Finance Act has. And they said, for example, they just have an example, small rural district. For every student that's in there, there's an additional $470. And they said if you had 150 students in a small district, that's $100,000.
For the small rural school money, so
Right,
you're saying,
for a small role, and it's under CDE role.
we've gotten that every year, and this year our amount is about 230,000, but we used to get a lump sum every year for that money, but now they're built it into the School Finance Act, so it comes in our total program funding is what's gonna happen this coming year.
Is coming out.
So when I tell you about our per pupil amount, it's a little bit higher than normal, it's because they've added that 230,000.
The one thing they did say is that this has been unpredictable And they said that they've established that this is gonna be a consistent funding mechanism for rural districts.
And
So,
that's what's great about it
Yeah.
going into total program, that we will definitely.
It will never go away.
Yeah,
Right.
so that is a really good thing for us.
Perfect.
so that's good news.
Yeah,
If
it is
everything
good
pans out, we'll see.
Yeah, because it's 230 grand this year. Last year we didn't get that much. This year, for whatever reason it's up, but,
Yeah.
we'll take it.
I did want to hit, something here that's important. We talked about the library materials last board meeting. That has been put on indefinite hold, meaning that it won't be brought back as it was, if it is brought back, but they don't expect it to be brought back this year, so we don't have to worry about anything around the materials in our library or any kind of process that the state wants to put in place that we have to follow. Excuse me, I'm looking at two different documents, so. We also have some things, what they call equal access to public meetings bill, and that bill is House Bill 1168. And basically, in short, they're just basically saying that whenever there's meetings, we have to make sure we have accommodations for the public to access those. So we have citizens that can't hear, that are deaf, or we have citizens that need Braille or something like that we have to be able to provide that. And if we don't provide that, so that citizens can get this information, then we would be breaking the Civil Rights Act type of thing. So that's what that's about. They do expect that to move forward and pass. But right now, it's going through the House as a draft. There's a bill, House Bill 1167, prohibiting student seclusion. So the idea that sometimes we are having to take students and put them in an isolated room. This bill is basically saying we're not going to be able to do that. And so there's a lot of debate. There's still a lot of going on. LRC basically asked them to amend this bill in a couple ways. And so I just wanted you to be aware that this is a bill that they're talking about, and that is under heated discussion as it relates to the state coming in and saying that we can't use a strategy like that. But if you want more information, when I say those bill names, it's available on your bill tracker. Let's see. This is Senate Bill 24099, and this is a para after retirement for rural school districts. And basically, it's a bill that says principals who have retired and superintendents who have retired will now be allowed to come back and not be penalized by para. If they become one of the groups that are not going to be penalized.
Is that just administrative? It's not teachers?
So they already have.
Teachers already can do that, right?
And push orders.
So that was a no-brainer.
Principals and superintendents want in that group. So
Okay,
they're
that's
bringing it
what
back
I
to
just need
saying-
to be clear. I
Yeah.
thought that's,
That we already have it.
So they expect that, that's been fully supported by both parties, and they expect that to pass within this session. And then there's one more I just wanted to basically try to talk about, and that is that's a bill basically that talks about public participation. And this bill is already passed and been signed by the governor, and it's basically, Tim, you might have to help me with this, the public, what's the bill, what's the thing where aren't they usually, where we have to make sure that,
Cora, Colorado Open Records Act.
Right, Open Records Act, and it all applies to the legislation, basically, the legislators. They put things into place so that they're under this rule as well now, to make it more transparent,
Right,
how they
because
do their business.
they were postulating a bill where they would be excluded from some of that.
Right, so they put this bill passed and the governor signed it, that basically puts certain things in place that haven't been in place before. And makes our legislators more accountable for and transparent for the decisions they make at that level.
Yeah, because they could go into conference without public record, kinds of things in the past.
Wasn't this also have to do with that, the private texting that they were doing to preload information about what they were gonna be discussing? So it was outside of public record, but it was supposed to be public record.
But that's, it's in that same genre of what they were talking about, because they've been doing a bunch of things that, well, not a bunch, but a few things that are outside what the Sunshine Act is, the intent of the Sunshine Act.
That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Figueroa.
Thorough, I like it.
It was very thorough. Good job.
Thanks.
Rachel?
Mine won't be that thorough.
Proceeds, please.
Proceeds, we did not have a normal meeting. We had a work session that ended up being, that was a special meeting. And pretty much all we discussed was the director's evaluation. That was everything.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
You discussed the actual evaluation, the process, I mean,
the actual evaluation.
the actual, so.
Yeah, so we went into a special meeting so that way we could
Got
go into executive session to discuss the evaluation.
Okay, and does that get presented and then is it shared, or how does that work? Like, we have to share, right?
Right,
Our,
so since it was a special meeting, it was shared after the executive session what the results of her evaluation were, and some of the comments on there as well. So that is all shared on their website under the meeting minutes.
okay,
It was a favorable evaluation. We have asked Royce to come back, basically. And yeah, there was a lot of talk around, at least from the board's point, about structuring the meeting and just we're a brand new board. There's about half of us are absolutely new to that one. So just kind of to get a feel for how they do things the way they do and go from there.
would you mind, pulling that public document off and just emailing it to this board so that we kind of can look if we choose to, but don't have to go find it?
I'll see if I can find it.
Okay.
I have not gotten an email.
I'm like, I don't wanna go find it, but I would look at it if I could see it.
One of the other things we also talked about was to get our packet from BOCES a little bit earlier. So that was one of the main things that everybody on the board had hoped for. So when I do receive that, I will share it.
Awesome, great, thank you. All right, I think we are, any questions, anybody else have? No, good. I think we are, up to our superintendent report, Mr. Cordray, your time.
Thank you. In your report, you have the regular reports from the Mancos Early Learning Center, elementary school principal and secondary school principal. What I'd like to share with you is just a reminder, on April 12th, we'll have the board staff meeting from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. At that same time, we'll have a discussion with the staff around the SRO process as the school district continues to make progress building information, collecting feedback. There'll be an opportunity for the school district to collect feedback from staff around the SRO process, one of several opportunities into the future, as well as being able to see some draft MOUs and understanding that process. That'll happen at the same time. The PBL exhibition is April 26th, and I believe that's 10. I'll get the dates out to you, but I believe the times. It'll be about 5 hours long. And then in addition, I will be meeting with the San Juan BOCES executive director, as well as the special ed director for our school district for our spring meeting to evaluate how things are going, how they can improve, what's going well, what could be improved. So that's something they did in the fall, and they're also doing it in the spring. I appreciate that opportunity for them to do that. And then also on April 2nd, we'll be having our second walkabouts. This is where our teachers in the district, go watch other teachers in the district with their instruction. So it's a great opportunity to really mix the 3 different levels, teachers to spend time together, have an opportunity to watch 3 different teachers, and then have a debrief in this room. And it's a great social opportunity. It's an opportunity to see how their colleagues are doing. It's an opportunity just to really grow professionally. And the first round went really well, and we expect the second round to go really well also. And then something I'll be speaking about a little bit further is the Commissioner of Education, Susanna Cordova, will be joining the teachers in this process also. So she'll get to see firsthand Mancos School District's commitment to instructional practice and to ensure that our students are learning at a high level. So this is an exciting opportunity for the district. And Madam President, that's my report.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move into discussion items. First up on,
No business.
I'm sorry.
Report.
you're right, sorry. Chrissy?
This is very short.
I feel like she's like, I'm good, I'm Heather tonight.
I'm Heather.
Sorry.
No, I just have a couple things, just to expand a little bit on what we were talking about, with legislative stuff. So I'm going to start building that, preliminary budget, for May, based on, $13,065 per student. But again, that does include that $230,000 of that small rural school money. So, but I still anticipate it being about $750 more per kid. Is kind of what that is gonna equate to. So some, 320,000, 350,000, somewhere in there is where it's gonna have extra revenue from the state is what I'm anticipating. So we'll see what we can do with that. And then the other thing I just wanted to let you know is I got a call from Edwards Jones. Do you remember that little T-bill we have with them? It's just a little bit of money. I think with interest, there's about $8,600 in there somewhere. Anyway, they are no longer managing state funds. So I need to just call them and say, hey, send us a check. So they're gonna be sending us a check for whatever that payout is on that. So I just need to know what I'm supposed to do with that money. So it's not a ton of money. It's, like I said, it'll be about $8,600. So I don't know what you guys, if anybody has the bathrooms. I mean, we could just,
Should we put it in a CD?
I was gonna say, can we invest it in something else here local?
we could, I guess we could just start a whole nother CD, or we could, yeah, because the CDs we have,
We're gonna be talking about the housing stuff here shortly. That might be a nice little start for some of that work.
yeah, so I'm
But
gonna.
you need further discussion and direction.
Yeah, I talked to Chris Meters about it, and he's like, yeah, it was such a little minute amount of money, he's like, you can do whatever, he says, you can transfer to the cap reserve, if that's what you guys wanna do, and just
That's easy.
stick it in there and just start building that, or it could go to bathroom remodel, I mean, it could go to anything, or we can figure out a way to, really, the only other way to invest it would be through a CD.
Yeah.
Is there anything super pressing that we need to do before the end of the year? that would
Oh,
need
there's a
funding? I
list.
mean, well, yeah, I know, but like, is there something, like, if we put it in the general fund, like, is there something that, like, we really would need that
Like we could
for?
put it towards.
Yeah, I think the biggest pressures are in the capital reserve, all the capital items. You know, we have a long list of things we can't afford that all feel very pressing. So it could go there or just in the general fund, which would then as we close out the year, we'll transfer some money into cap reserve like we regularly do. So
Okay.
those are probably the better way to go, just from my perspective, as opposed to creating another piece to be managed.
That's what I was thinking, because for me to balance all the CDs every month, it's a lot, and for $8,000, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, so, can we provide direction at this meeting? I mean, my feedback is it's an easy exercise to put it in the capital reserves.
So what I can do is whatever our transfer was allotted, I don't remember, I can just add another, whatever this T-bill equates to, just add an additional transfer over.
So I'm gonna assume that someone needs to make a motion to do that.
No, that's just giving direction.
Is that, it doesn't need a motion?
No, because that's their purview. We oversee the budget, but they're,
I think it's an easy exercise to put it there.
Okay, that's kind
Do
of.
you guys agree? Does anybody oppose? There you go, there's your direction.
Okay, so next investment report, it'll probably be off of there and you'll know why. At 86 will be gone and we'll stick it in here. That sounds perfect. Okay, that's really all I have unless somebody has questions about.
Now we're moving on to discussion items. Sorry, I wanna go home apparently, because I'm just skipping everything. Been traveling, so. Okay, so the first up for our discussion items this evening is our student linkage exercise, which was completed earlier in the month. Victor Figueroa and myself, along with Mr. Cordray, attended a panel of students in which the conversation was super engaging. I loved it. I would volunteer to come in and do that every year. It was really good. I was so impressed with our students. I was really proud of the fact that these were all kids that did not have any, at first they were a little nervous, but they got their feet under them pretty quickly and they had no problem expressing their opinion. They spoke eloquently. It was really, just really cool to see. And so that would be my just kind of 2 cents of introduction. And then Victor, will you just share a little bit of the summary or a little bit of highlight, low light,
Sure.
if you will?
Sure, I, like Emily, I'm always just floored with how well our students communicate, how well they articulate, and how well they give us feedback, honest, straightforward feedback. And this is my second year doing it. I love doing it. I told Emily I gotta do it again. Because it's just one of those deals where we really want feedback from our students, because that's why we get up every day. That's why we work in this business. That's why we come voluntarily to our board meetings, because we want to improve the education of our community, of our students. And so I thank them, first of all 10 students that participated, thank them for giving us some feedback, some critical feedback. And so I just want to share a little bit about that. Before I do that, I do want to say that the students were selected from a diverse background. And so we really wanted to get students from all walks of life in front of us so that they can give us their perspective and allow us to be able to digest that as a board and help us make some decisions as we move forward. That being said, I do want to emphasize that students really felt that the relationships that they have with their teachers are excellent relationships that support them both academically and social-emotionally. They emphasize that within our meeting, and it's a tremendous compliment to our staff and to our talented staff, really, and the work that they're doing with kids every day. Students really stated, in our conversation that, hands-on educational experiences were the best way for them to learn. They just, said that over and over, that the most engaging classes are classes that allow them to engage and to participate and to create within the classroom. And so that's just, again, another bit of feedback that tells us project-based learning is the path we still need to stay on, and it's the path our students want us to be on. Another one that I thought was really good information for us to contemplate and to think about as we move forward is that students have good ideas about the future of pathways, future classes. I know that pathways is a huge project, but if we were to look at adding on to pathways or exchanging some, they felt like having some computer science classes, college skill classes that focused on college prep, filling out applications, scholarships, FAFSA, those types of things would be helpful to some kids. And so I thought that was just interesting feedback. They did also say it'd be great if we had a driver's education class.
Yeah, we got a lot of drivers that thumbs up.
Yeah, so, and of course, in high schools where they start to drive, and right now, I'm again, being a parent, had to take my kid to Durango and then get tested in Pagosa. And it's really a difficult kind of process, or you do it online, that's the other option. But I think that they're saying it'd be nice to be in class with somebody talking about different situations, and then also going out and driving. And then I'm not hitting all the points, but I just hit one more. Many students really articulated that the transition from 8th grade into high school would benefit them if these things would be in place. And these things are, if freshmen could spend a day at the high school and within the high school environment and maybe shadow a high school student. So as an 8th grader, they would like to go into high school and shadow somebody, which makes total sense to me. But it was nice to hear from them. In addition, they would like more information about options. Options around what kind of classes they could take before they have to make decisions. So they wanted to know more about schedule adaptations, teacher aid, options possibly, or work, study, internships, or college options. They would like to know more about that prior to getting into high school. Those are some feedback that students gave. Again, tremendous group, really enjoyed talking with them, both Emily and I. But we're just astonished what we learned. And so again, I thank our students for participating.
Does anybody have any questions or discussion, commentary about the survey or the results that were shared from linkage? No? One of the things that I will mention, just as we wrap that up, is that, kind of just to circle back, that as a board, I think we've all been impressed around the fact that the student voice is really kind of rising to the top and has been appreciated. And we are, as a board, working and hopeful to bring a thoughtful process around student voice to the board table, potentially regularly starting next year. That does not mean that the linkage exercise would go away. We would still want to make sure that we have a variety of students across the district who are able to give us their experience, their feedback, their thoughts. But that thoughtful student voice at the board table will perhaps insert that throughout the year. And that is really what we have started to focus on next. The learning from the board, if you will, is let's take it one step further. And it really does help tremendously for us to understand what's important to them. And interestingly enough, we even had Mr. Josh Dolly participate with the panel as well. And it was really quite interesting because I think the students were able to get answers from him, you know, and that you could tell that they kind of appreciated that, right? Like, one of the questions was, you know, what are your future plans after high school? And he was able to say, when I was in high school, I did not know I was gonna be sitting here today, right? So it just was a really fun exercise, time very well spent, so I appreciated everybody participating. All right,
If I could just add to that just a
yes,
little bit,
please,
you know,
you're up next.
student voice and choice is, you know, one of the core elements of PBL practices. So the fact that the board, you know, is practicing student linkage is a way that the board affirms the PBL practices that we have as a school district as our primary instructional strategy. And then also, the board needs to be commended for seeking out input from students. This is the second year in a row that the board has had a linkage process, and where they're seeking information from all kinds of different stakeholders. In this case, the stakeholders were the students. And that linkage process is a really important governance process. And so this board does an exceptional job of hearing from the stakeholders in the community to make sure that the school district's living up to the expectation that they have for our students' outcomes.
Absolutely, great. The next few discussion items will be led by you, Mr. Cordery, but first and foremost, I think you wanted to mention a visit from Susanna Cordova.
Yeah, so that's the next discussion item is, you know, we're fortunate, the Commissioner of Education, the Commissioner of the Colorado Department of Education in the state of Colorado, Susanna Cordova will be joining us on April 2nd. She has a full schedule with us. She'll be arriving at about 10 a.m. And from that point, I'll talk with her, share with her some of what we're doing as a school district. She knows about Mancos School District. Mancos School District is known as an example, our small rural school district in the state. I'll be sharing with her our strategic plan and also other important documents that really demonstrate how well we're achieving as a school district. And then she'll be joining our teachers in our instructional walkabout. So she'll get to see firsthand what our teachers are seeing that other teachers are doing as far as the instructional practices happening in the classroom. And then she'll be available to also debrief with those teachers, excuse me. So we have a discussion about how we are on a process of continuous improvement. And then after that, she'll be giving remarks in this boardroom right here. We've invited the Dolores School District, Montezuma Cortez School District, and Dove Creek, as well as the BOCES, for their executive director or superintendent to be here with their board president. And they'll have an opportunity to talk with Commissioner Cordova, as well as hear from her about what her goals are for the Colorado Department of Education. And then following that, she'll get a student-led tour of our school district so that she can see, you know, what's going on. She'll be able to go into classrooms. And so we're really excited to have the commissioner with us. As part of your packet, you have her itinerary as well as the invitation for the lunch. So you can see how that was put together as well.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions, or does anybody have any comments about?
Do we need to RSVP if we want to attend that lunch?
Yes, that'd be terrific.
Okay, I think next we have some staffing updates that you're gonna circle us in on.
Yeah, you know, right now is a really, at every admin meeting, we have discussions around staffing. We know that for many years, retention and recruitment have been a primary focus, not only of the Board of Education, but of the administration and of everyone in the district. So we're watching that closely. Every admin meeting, we talk about that. because it's critical that we find ways that we retain the high quality individuals that work here. As a school district, we're really fortunate to have the high quality people that work here. It's really exceptional. It's what makes working here such a joy and such a pleasure. But sometimes people do leave. And so I just wanted to bring up the fact that in your packet tonight, we do have a resignation letter from Mr. Whitner, the secondary principal. He's been with the school district 7 years in a variety of capacities as a board member, as the PBL director, and as the secondary principal. He's a man of really high character. He's a high caliber professional. I'm going to miss him personally and professionally. He brings a lot to the environment. One of the things that's really exceptional is when he stepped into that role as secondary principal, that was at a time where we were feeling incredible stress with retention and recruitment. He's brought in some really incredible hires, and the middle school and the high school, he did a terrific job of really raising the caliber of education through his hires. And so, while we're going to be losing him, I'm really glad that we'll be retaining so many of those great people that he hired. One of the things I shared with you in the work session is a draft of the plan for how we go about replacing or how we go about filling that position. I shared that same plan with the administrative team today, and then I shared it with you at the work session, and I'll be sharing it with the secondary staff to get their input. The secondary staff will have the biggest input on the selection process, as well as will include parents and students in the process as well. If the tentative timetable stays consistent, we're looking at an interview for the job posting to close probably around April 17th and interviews to happen April 19th. This is all subject to change. I want to get feedback from staff to make sure that really feels like the appropriate time frame. If that is the appropriate time frame, then we'll be likely to have our top candidate by April 23rd, and then be able to invite that candidate to join the district. And once that person has joined the district, Mr. Rittner has shared that he'd be happy to have that person shadow him for as many days as possible, so that they could really get a feel for the work and get a feel for the exciting education that happens in our school district. And then that person would be officially joining us with starting the next calendar year, school district year on July 1st, 2024. So that's just what I wanted to share with you about updates. Do you have any questions for me on that?
I don't have questions, but I have comment. What do you
We've had a couple of resignation letters from teachers. Where do we stand as far as turnover within the school district for this coming year? As you see it right now, I mean, obviously comes whenever contracts come out, that's a whole another topic, but.
Yeah, I can speak personally. Personally, I feel very optimistic and feel very pleased with our turnover rate. It's always sad when we lose quality teachers, and there will be some quality teachers that are opting to move out of state or other things. So that is a shame, but I feel optimistic about the situation. So, but I'll know more as it develops. These are one of our major challenges, as you know, and is really our compensation is a major challenge. And I think it's our biggest challenge. So as we continue to try to figure that out, I think that will also help us as a school district. But it's also then a call to our community. So I share that just so I can share that with the community in particular. It's gonna be important for the community to understand that our education system, small rural school districts in particular, are not adequately funded. They're just not, and we're happy to meet with any community members and share the budget with them so that they can understand that. But it's really not appropriate when we're starting teachers at 35,000 or have classified staff starting at $15 an hour. It's just not competitive. So I think that's our biggest challenge, but overall, I feel very optimistic about our retention. I also feel optimistic about our recruitment.
Thank you.
Anything
Mr.
else?
Cordray, I was just wondering, I mean, do we still have a group of, a committee that's looking at compensation for staff? Has there been any discussion about going out to the community and having some forums around the budget, trying to educate our community more about, you know, what we have and what we don't have as it relates to school district and funding and salaries and how to, it's really just about educating it. Is there any discussion at all? Is there any plan for that?
You know, and Mr. Figueroa, there's really not. It is a bit of a stalled process.
Yeah.
And it is a situation where we are going to need to have some fresh voices and some people to really stand up from the community or people from staff who've been here a long time to say, well, I want to try to do this again. Because currently it is a stalled process as we think about it. And we're limited with our property evaluation on how we could seek funding through property taxes.
Yeah.
You know, a 1 mil increase only increases our general revenue by $58,000. So it would take an untenable amount of mills increase to make a difference for really the bridge we want to gap. When we did that research as a committee and we had about 40 or 50 people participating, we learned that we really have an annual shortfall, an annual delta of about $1 million. $1 million would really then get us competitive with our salaries with Durango or with New Mexico. And so that's about what it would take. So
On an annual basis.
on an annual basis, year over year, additional revenue of $1 million. So that cannot be achieved through a property tax increase. And I'm not sure that that would be the best way to go. Anyway.
I'm gonna start bringing tissues, so I can cry. I'll add one more thing to the staffing update, and that's just, overall commentary, that Mr. Wertner's shoes will be big shoes to fill. And I say that as I have had a interaction with him on all of those levels that you mentioned, Mr. Cordray, including, sitting through district accountability while he was on the school board, when he was working in another district, all the way through his joining our staff in a couple of different capacities. So that being said, although I think many are quite frankly nervous, we know that we have a strong team and we've got a process in place with everyone being advised of that process along the way and everyone being asked for their feedback, which is critical to keep all of the staff and all of the people who this affects in the fold as we walk through the finding of our next. And it's, again, it's a bummer, but it's understandable. And I personally wish Mr. Wertner all the very best in his next steps, whatever those may be. And I think those steps are building a house, as per his newsletter today. He might be calling you, Tim. All right, so next up, Mr. Cordray, I think you also were going to cover some fun, exciting news.
Yeah, so, one of the things that we learned in that process of pulling 40 or 50 people together was there was a bit of an appetite for the school district to learn more about if affordable housing could be in our future or not. And so as part of that committee, you know, that's grown out of it. And what we've done is we've completed a phase 1 environmental evaluation of the bus barn site. That's a 5-acre parcel. And we're finishing up the phase 2. We should get the report back on the phase 2 anytime now. And the cost of those evaluations can be pretty expensive, like $10,000. We were able to get those done through a grant at no cost to the school district. And I think that's part of what you talked about, Mr. Figueroa, about this being a thing that's happening, you know, really throughout the country, but particularly in Colorado. We're trying to fix the problem of inadequate funding for school districts in a variety of ways. And one way is through affordable housing. So what I want to share is, I'm gonna say this at least twice, is that as a school district, we're in the due diligence stage. I really do not want to get people too excited about this concept yet. We still wanna go through. It's gonna be a long process. There's gonna be plenty of off-roads as to whether or not this is right for us or not. And so the next stage is, we applied for a grant through Colorado Housing and Finance Authority. And they have a grant, which is a technical assistance grant, and Board President Hutchison Brown sat in on that interview for the grant. And we just shared with them, you know, what could be in our future. And they advised with everything from the entitlement process to the development, to the builder selection, to finding a property manager for managing the property once it's built, to building the appropriate tenant contracts, to finding tenants. So they advise on all those things. And we are awarded that grant. So we have over 100 hours of technical assistance to assist us through this due diligence process. So this is going to be a long process and it could end at any time. We just have to figure out if it's right for us or not. You know, one of the things, it could be a good long-term strategy, or on the other side, it could be a distracting strategy because it's outside of our mission. Our mission is really to take care of kids, you know, socially, emotionally, psychologically, and academically. And this is outside of our mission. So we have to decide if we want to engage in a little mission creep in this process in order to help make this work. So this is what we'll discover over time. It could be a really good thing for the district, or it could be a distracting thing for the district. And that's all part of what we have to decide. But I'm really happy that we'll be accompanied in this process through CHAPA, Colorado Housing and Finance Authority. So that was exciting news. And I thank you, Board President, for being on that call and representing the school district.
Of course, I think, just if I can add a little commentary there, what was exciting for me in going through that process was just simply an understanding that essentially what the value of this grant brings to us is expertise and advisement. It's almost as though we're able to hire a consultant on our behalf, grant funded. Do you know the value of that 100+ hours, or is there any dollar figure tied to it?
Yeah, I think it's really just valued it depending on what the services are, somewhere between like 20 to 40,000.
Okay, so we've got a couple of studies done around 10 grand. Let's just say we've got, 20 to 40 grand here. I mean, this is a $50,000 now decision that we're not having to come out of pocket $50,000 in order to have assistance in helping make that decision. And I appreciate, you bringing up that the risk here is that the project itself, although could bring much value and opportunity that we've never thought was possible in this community, quite frankly. It's also very risky. And that is where our seats at the board level will come into play, because if it were to come back to us, it's a significant financial investment. It's a, again, you're evaluating all of the opportunity, if it's worth it, the steps along the way. And I liked that this group helps you walk that. So it's not just our decision or Mr. Cordray's direction. It is a group of experts that are essentially riding shotgun with us through the process. I feel when I found we were awarded, I felt more confident that we will come to the right decision if we can spend the time, work with these people. And I mean, I know, Tim, this has been high on your list for, like, your bucket list for a long time. And, I'd be curious to know your thoughts around how you're feeling about where we're at.
I would like to see a faster process, but I understand what it takes to do this. I mean, there is a process that needs to be followed through with. I think as far as the financial risk, when we look at what's going on around here with a couple of workforce housing projects, it was not a financial risk for those organizations. I think given where things are at right now, and that's just my current perspective, that there are monies available for this kind of thing, and we need to be pursuing that. But we need to have a plan. We need to know what we're doing before we start pursuing the money to make it happen. And these are the steps that it takes to do that. I agree, we have to do the due diligence and to follow through the technical support that we're getting from CHAPA is gonna be really important. We can get a playbook for our particular area from these guys. And that's, like you say, everything from, project management to, for any kind of construction through, project management or property management.
Yeah, it's dirt to occupancy. It's dirt to occupancy, well, in the entire process. I love that too.
Yeah, we need to have a playbook for that. And this is the process to make that happen.
And let me clarify, when I said financial risk, I think my envisioning of financial risk is not property or property value. It's, we would have to likely pull out of reserves more than likely from the school district to contribute to the project.
Sure.
That's the financial piece I'm talking about. I agree. Anything of housing here is not, it's not going under next year, right? That's not risky. I agree.
So I'd love to see a faster process, but understand the process.
Yeah. Do you guys have any questions or comments or excited, not excited? It's kind of,
Yeah. I'm having a hard time with the school getting into a property management thing. I don't know if that's the place for a school, is to get into housing. Talked to a few teachers, most of them have some type of housing. I think they believe that the money would be better spent in higher salaries to afford the housing they already have. But I do believe that this is a process that we do need to look at and see what all of our options are out there. So I'm not.
That's current housing.
correct.
Current housing, yes.
And, we have the folks who've been here a while and have that housing, that's a changing demographic. And it's not a slow changing demographic either.
Right.
And the funding, it's X amount of dollars to do a building project. And for salaries, it's a continuous ongoing
Correct.
financial deal that's not the same as taking something like capital reserves and spending it it's not the same kind of financial responsibility. When teachers talk about they'd rather see that happen, I get it. But
It's not the same
it's not
exercise.
apples to apples.
Right.
Right, which is why I think we should do the process, I just don't know. Right now, I don't know how I feel about it.
That's legit.
One of the case in point that wasn't lost on me is, I remember when we hired Mr. Cordray, and you had a tight timeline that you needed to get from where you were to move here,
Mhm,
because you came in from out of district,
mhm,
and you ended up going to Cortez.
mhm.
And a lot of our so to your point, being like staff that's coming in, we're trying to attract teachers and staff to work here, but they can't afford to live here, or there's no housing available. So they're having to go to all of these outlying areas and then commute in, which is more of an expense after they start with their crappy salary, right? So we're trying to like level the playing field a little, maybe give us a little bit of, I think it would be, personally, I think it would be a benefit to attract quality educators. That's the play in my mind. And to your point, Tim, it is not an apples to apples exercise, but if we build something and we use it, and in 20 years, we need a new school to be built, that asset, who says it can't be sold?
Mhm.
And then that money could be used to further the school in a much higher capacity than a piece of dirt, because that's all we got right now is a
And
piece
that's
of dirt.
part of what this chap of technical help is going to be able to do
Correct.
is lay out for us what we want to have as far as, are they rental properties? Are they properties is this for sale? Is this just for teachers? Is this, there's a whole list of things
To figure out.
that we need to get a playbook on.
I think it's great work, good exercise, funded by not the district. Let's start there.
Right,
So congrats, Todd. That was really good work. I really missed you, Tim. I was like, oh. All right, okay, so, next up, I think we are, sorry, I lost my place.
Executive board meeting.
We're gonna talk about 4B. So I will, read, real quick, let me read the objective. Mancos School District teaching staff use student plans, reflections, assessments, and projects to document individual student goals, strengths, and areas for growth. Keep in mind, we're talking about this at each individual level of education, meaning elementary, secondary. We're kind of splitting those two in as we look at the rubric and evaluate the objective. Okay, so I would open it up for discussion. Anybody wants to start?
I'll start with this one. We did have a lot of discussion around this, and the main thing, I guess, that I got out of it is we're definitely on the approaching standard for this. There's a lot of things we would like to do, we just haven't implemented a way to show that we're doing them. And a lot of it really kind of comes around the digital portfolio. So for those that were in, with our last discussion with this one, I think once that process can be started with the students and we can see the growth from there, I think that's gonna be a lot more measurable data for us. Where right now, without those, it's very hard to measure any of these rubric standards.
Good point. Anything else?
I just think that, there's work to be done. It is approaching standard. The capstone projects and the portfolios are my biggest question marks. We're not where we're at, but how we're going to get there is still discussion. I'm anxious to see what happens with that.
Mhm.
It's great.
I think that there are pockets of things that are happening. So I think we're making progress, but there's no way to really document that progress in a way that we can see it more clearly. I think when we have a discussion with Mr. Cordray and staff, there are things that are going on at the high school level. There are some things going on at the middle and some things going on at the elementary level that lend to this objective. But I think for us to be able to get a platform where we have portfolios, a platform that we can document the types of things that are already going on through conversation or through engagement or through exposure to careers and different things that our students are experiencing, both in our schools and in the community, is really the next big step that needs to happen. And my hope is that that we're going to see progress by September around that very platform where we can start putting information in on each student.
Craig, do you have any?
Just going through 4B and thinking about what we've discussed already about the student linkage. I think it's really important for us to ensure that we talked about the different aspects of 4B and think about doing like a work session to help, with appropriate staff to drill down and look at the strat plan, especially some of these things. But I think it's important for us to not lose sight of being deliberate with our actions and the burdens on staff, making sure that whatever we're doing is actionable, and that it's something that we have intention with going forward, so that we know that students are already engaging with the teachers and we have the counseling staff. How do we get the student to feel comfortable approaching that staff and, making sure that we are deliberate with the steps within that. I think that's, for me, that's kind of one thing that kind of was popping out a bit. Making sure that we're supporting the staff moving forward.
So one thing that I will offer, which I think needs to just be said, is that, to your point, there's a lot of expectation on staff to meet the delivery from, we're talking kindergarten all the way up through graduation of these Google Suite or online Google portfolios and these capstone projects, which are an accumulation of what these students are doing throughout their entire course career. And one, I think it's pretty incredible that we are looking at and we're doing the work. We will get there, but I think we have to give some grace to not only our teachers and our staff, but ourselves as a district, to not feel as though we're applying pressure to our staff. You've got to get there. Like, I would much rather, let's talk about applying some grace here and getting there as it makes sense. So everyone is still going to be, having training provided. There's a grant that we're looking at that can give us some of that training, and not forcing it, trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Let's figure out how we get there eloquently, and we will get there. This exercise and this work is being done by much, much larger, more sophisticated districts with more money. We're doing it even where we're struggling a bit, just because we're asking more. So it's okay. It's not a criticism. It's an acknowledgement of, it's okay that we're gonna go slow. And that's our board and our duty and Mr. Cordray's duty to kind of pull the reins a bit and say, slow down. Let's get there the right way, not get there the quick way and then have to go back and continue to go back and go back and go back. So that's one thing I would like to point out, is that I believe we're going to approve this as approaching standard. It may be approaching standard for the next 5 years. Not everything has to be, oh, it's a standard or it's, outside of, like, it's amazing. It is amazing, even at approaching standard, that we're even doing this work. So I really, really want to clarify that, because I don't want people to take offense to any type of category that we slot this in. we're doing the work, they're doing the work, the kids are doing the work, we know they're doing the work. It's just now about mindfully putting that together in the right slots. Okay, so we need a motion. If everybody's done discussing, we need a motion. I can't make motions anymore.
I'll move we approve this as approaching standard.
I second.
Excellent. Any discussion? Chrissy called a question.
Emily Hutchinson Brown,
Aye.
Tim Under,
Aye.
Craig Benelli,
Aye.
Victor Figueroa,
I,
Rachel McWhirter.
All right, motion carries 5-0. Excellent. All right. Next up on our agenda here is
Action items.
our action items. Anybody have a motion?
So I'll move to approve A through E as consent.
I second that.
Is there any discussion?
I just have one little thing, and this is more of a timing thing. I know they're trying to do all the spring coaches together, but is there a way that we could have this and approve it before they're actually coaching this? I mean, like,
They could get them hired beforehand, that would be helpful too. There's always this gap,
right,
and we try to get that done, but
or could we get like part of it, 'cause like I know that, you know, we've had the high school coach, and then he started like a month ago with kids, like it just seems like, it seems like we should see this, or at least have an idea of, hey, you know, we have these coaches, we're still waiting for these assistants or whatever, before we're into the season, because we're, you know, if there's some that we don't approve or some that we don't like, they're already with our kids for a time. I mean, not like we're not gonna approve somebody, but if there is that, I guess I would just
I
like
was
to
gonna say,
It has
we may
happened in the
not.
past where we've
I-
not approved some.
so I would like to see that, especially around like coaches and things, more timely.
So one thing that might help here, because I know that that's a tough
It is
thing, tough ask. We spoke about, and Todd, you and I have talked about this a few times. That might be one of those applications where, you know, we talked about the positive of having certain administrators join to give an update to the board on maybe like a quarterly or a biannually. Maybe that is that particular administrator's role, is to come in right before fall and spring sports and be able to just say, hey, we know we've got these slots filled and we've got good direction on these, and that might be a really good reporting functionality, because I think by the time you get to the contract, there's just so much being done before that, right? To put it all in place.
And with only having a meeting once a month, it's, you know, because this could have happened the day after our last meeting, but they have to push it all the
Right.
way until this meeting. So I know that, you know, that timing is hard as well, with only having, you know, action items once a month.
Yeah.
But I like that idea, Emily, to have
Just might help
somebody.
with that particular administrator coming in. And I don't wanna ask, I should probably say this, I don't want anybody to be mad at me. I don't wanna ask all of our administrators to come in a lot.
Right.
I mean, I've been present when they've been here at every meeting and it's not valuable.
No.
But it is valuable, and I have found it valuable to be able to have, you know, Mr. Wertner at the table, or to have Mr. Levine at the table, or to have, Mr. Greenlee. Those are the things we need to almost slot it into place in the planning calendar, Todd, so that it just becomes kind of this cadence of being in the know, right? But not to ask too much of them. I like the twice a year conversation. I don't know enough to know if that's sufficient, so I'll challenge you
yeah,
with
let's-
figuring that out for us.
Well, I think we'll put together a calendar. I think you and I briefly spoken about
Yeah.
putting together a calendar, and then if we could do that, I think that's a great idea. Cause it puts you all in a tough spot when we already have people working, and then you're going through the formality of the approval. So if we can get that order better, that'd be terrific.
And to
Or at
your
least-
point, people are asking, right?
Or
They're
at
like
least more
asking you.
information.
Right, or they're commenting, or they're like, oh, so sports are important.
Well, just, I mean, just if you read down through here, it's like, okay, now we're acting on coaches, but we've already had 2 or 3 track meets. I mean, you know, the season's been going, like it's,
Yeah, the high school started 26th of February.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And the submission for recommendation was on the 14th.
Yeah.
So like in between our,
Right, it's in between
Yeah.
meetings, but it was still after the season had started.
Right, because the season started before spring
Yeah,
break.
it's in February. So just a side thing, I agree with the motion, I think we should continue with the action items, that was just a timing.
No, that's what discussion's
That's what
about.
discussions
Yeah,
are.
and I think it's really pertinent for all hires. I mean, that's a really good thing, because we don't want to put anyone in a delicate spot.
Mhm.
And I'm just thinking, and again, this might have already been said, but I'm just wondering if we know that basketball, football, basketball, track or whatever is gonna be at a certain point. As soon as like the administrators know that this person's probably gonna do it, even if we got a list of the probables, like, this is probably gonna be the coach, although it's not fully set yet. Or we don't have anybody yet here for this sport.
Right, and that comes with that
You know,
update,
so
right?
some sort of sheet that's like a month before the actual game, the actual sport that starts. Just give us a list of things that you know and don't know. And that gives us a heads up at least, and if there's any discussion we have to have,
Yeah.
then we have a discussion.
Like, right now, we should be looking at fall sports. Are we on football? Is he gonna stay as the head coach? Done, how are we on volleyball? And I think we need to be almost a full season ahead on that.
We do that,
Because-
in May
Yeah,
for fall.
Perfect.
For whatever we do know,
right,
in May.
Cool.
When we do all the other contracts, we try to issue those at that time.
nice.
And then over the summer, there's a lot of
Yeah.
movement and.
Things that happen, right? But even if we got a sheet, again, knowing that it's not fully set, but it gives us an idea,
No,
And
I
then-
totally agree.
that might be just even good enough right there, just.
Because we have an idea.
So maybe the secondary to that, the backup to that is just as though you share the three reports with us you share the preschool,
Right.
elementary and secondary reports with us monthly.
Yeah,
And I don't wanna ask for more work, but that might be a report we need to start to see, is an athletic report, a safety and
Or
security
Or
report.
activities.
Right,
I would do
activities,
all
I'm
activities.
sorry, you're right, and activities, like what's going on in the district as it's cyclical, right? And then I think safety and security is another one, especially going into next year. And right now, that just happens to fall under the umbrella of one person, but you could pull them apart and cycle them so that it's not a ton of work every month.
And maybe
Right.
biannually you do a transportation, or
Right,
you do.
a cafeteria.
And that, because, we don't need to see theirs monthly, but maybe put theirs in there as well, because when we had the retention talk and Bart was in here, that
That was
was
awesome.
great. And it was great to hear from him, and I really wish Casey would have been here with the kitchen
Correct.
knives, I understand that, she wasn't available, but, it'd be really good to kind of hear, from their perspective as well, so. Maybe just rotate all department heads and, activities is just gonna have to be a little more frequent.
And then that way, if they can't be here in person, they can at least submit something we can have an update and read. And then it's not all on your shoulders, Mr. Cordray, to present all, the end all, everything in your report, which is kind of what happens as it rolls up, right? But in the essence of time and just being mindful of that, maybe that's an easier way to do it. So, perfect. Okay,
So do we need to
all
vote on
right, so that was discussion. Are we ready? Anything else? Chrissy called a question.
Emily Hutchinson Brown,
Aye.
Tim Hunter,
Aye.
Craig Benelli.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa,
Aye.
and Rachel McWhorter.
Excellent. Next up is item F, the proclamation of the Week of the Young Child.
And whereas the Mancos Early Learning Center, in conjunction with the National Association of the Education of Young Children, is celebrating the Week of the Young Child, April 6th through the 24th of 2024. And whereas by calling attention to the need for high-quality early childhood services for all children and families within the town of Mancos, Colorado, these organizations work to improve the quality and availability of such services. And whereas early childhood professionals who work with or on behalf of young children make a difference throughout our communities, and their efforts warrant thanks and recognition. And whereas public policies that support early learning for all young children are crucial to young children's futures and to the prosperity of our society. Now therefore, the Mancos Board of Education does hereby proclaim April 6th through 12th, 2024 as the Week of the Young Child and encourages all citizens to support and invest in early childhood in Mancos, Colorado.
Any discussion?
I move that we approve that proclamation.
I second.
Any discussion? Kristen?
Emily Hutchinson Brown,
Aye.
Tim Hunter,
Aye.
Craig Benelli.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa,
Aye.
Rachel McWhorter.
Aye.
Excellent. Okay, we have no public participation. Future agenda items, just to quickly mention, in April, we will potentially do a bit of work around policy, also superintendent goals. We've got to reaffirm goals. And budget may come into view, or the start of, although we normally do that in May fully. And then are we reviewing 3C and 4D? I think are the two.
I'm not
We
sure.
might have moved one of those, but we will definitely have one, if not two objectives that will come your way. So that's where we are at.
Will you also add me for a library report for linkage?
For April?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
And I'll be doing mine for.
Are you gonna do yours in April too?
Yeah.
That'll be a big linkage month. I am meeting with, the town in May, so the last linkage report will be on the town of Mancos, and that will be the latter May 30th, meeting presentation, so, okay. And I believe there's no further business that we're adjourned.